Hi, I'm Ellie Murtagh and I work on the Adaptation Scotland programme. We've been invited to share a presentation with the Knowledge Exchange Climate Adaptation Platforms project about our benchmarking tool and approach to assessing the maturity of adaptation capabilities. So today, I will introduce our Adaptation Capability Framework, which is what our benchmarking tool assesses against, before introducing the tool and our working group to support adaptation practitioners in using it, and finally concluding by reflecting on some lessons learned and challenges and opportunities emerging thus far. Firstly, a very quick introduction to our Adaptation Capability Framework. Now, through an expert working group of experienced practitioners across the country, we developed a resource to support adaptation in the public sector. This resource recognises that organisations need adaptation capabilities to deliver climate adaptation. And for our context, these are organisational culture and resources, understanding the challenge, planning and implementation, and working together. We also recognise that an organisation requires time to develop these capabilities. And as such, we identified 4 maturity stages over which the capabilities develop. And these are starting, intermediate, advanced, and mature. Now, this is a schematic illustration of the Adaptation Capability Framework, showing how the capabilities evolve over the maturity stages. Now, the framework is flexible and adaptable rather than prescriptive, acknowledging that each organisation's adaptation journey will be unique. To support organisations in understanding and using the framework, we provide descriptions of what an organisation looks like and what skills it's demonstrating across the maturity stages for all 4 capabilities. In addition, we also identify 50 discrete tasks which organisations can undertake to progress adaptation action and develop these capabilities. But to use the Adaptation Capability Framework in practice and identify which tasks to prioritise, we advise what we call a benchmarking process. So benchmarking helps highlight which capability areas the organisation is excelling at and others where more work may be needed. It can thus provide a way to understand and track ambitious change. But importantly to note, our benchmarking tool aims to assess the progress of an organisation rather than an individual or a specific climate change team. And as such, we suggest a multi-step tiered approach to seek feedback from departments and teams across a public body to develop a benchmarking assessment that's representative of the organisation as a whole. Now, the benchmarking tool is available on our Adaptation Scotland website in a downloadable Excel format. The tool can be used for benchmarking assessments on a quarterly, biannual, or annual basis. However, most of our users undertake annual assessments. The benchmarking tool assesses progress of organisations in 2 different ways. Firstly, an organisation is asked to consider how well the organisation matches that description of an organisation, displaying each capability at each maturity stage. And they're asked to provide a quantitative response on a scale of 0 to 3, where 0 is the organisation doesn't really display or illustrate any of the traits or characteristics described, whereas 3 is the organisation matches that description of what a capability at each maturity stage looks like in a very accurate way. After that, the second form of assessment relates to the tasks. Organisations are asked to consider what work has been undertaken on the tasks that underpin the development of each capability. And this uses a self-rating system to assess to what extent progress has been made. Be that if no action has started, some initials have been made, or if established processes and actions are ongoing within the organisation. In addition, we also ask organisations to record justification for their assessment by linking to internal and external documents, as well as prompting them to note any emerging learning. And by completing the benchmarking assessment for all 4 capabilities at all 4 maturity stages, a visualisation is then produced using a red, amber, green colour score to illustrate what progress has been made against the tasks. And this can be used to visually assess progress over time, as demonstrated by this example, which is from a local authority in Scotland. But we're also trialling an alternative visualization on Tableau, where organisations can explore their benchmarking assessments over time and in relation to other anonymised public bodies. Because what we found is that organisations really like to know what other public bodies are doing and how they can learn from them, which is one of the reasons why we set up a benchmarking working group. And this group is comprised of public bodies who work together to benchmark their adaptation progress and identify and share learning on climate change adaptation. We now have 25 public sector organisations participating, including local authorities, infrastructure operators, universities, colleges, and national public bodies. And through this working group, we host a number of activities from capacity building and training workshops, structured knowledge exchange amongst participants, informal peer support through creating spaces for practitioners to chat openly, as well as supporting reflective learning processes. So members of the benchmarking working group are requested to submit quarterly learning logs. And these prompt users to consider how they've used the Adaptation Capability Framework and benchmarking tool and what learning has emerged from that process, as well as how they felt about undertaking the activities. And recently, submitting learning logs have highlighted the collective challenges that COVID has placed on adaptation by diverting already scant resources away. And this has led to a feeling of shared frustration on stalled or stymied adaptation activities, but also identified this need for organisations to better engage with senior leaders, to promote the benchmarking assessment as a way to catalyse further action, and also hold out the examples of other more advanced public bodies as potential opportunities not only to learn from them, but also collaborate on joint projects. For example, one major public body that has really highly endorsed the benchmarking tool is Forestry and Land Scotland, who found the benchmarking assessment pivotal for communicating where their organisation was and what more they need to do, which actually helps secure significant additional investment into adaptation. And this slide contains a few quotes from their climate resilience manager. I just wanted to highlight the second, some bits of both of these actually, about that it's really important to celebrate what you've already done, but it's also key to be honest in benchmarking. And the last sentence on this slide here is the manager highlights that it's okay to find out that your organisation hasn't already made much progress. The important thing is to ensure that you're heading in the right direction from where you are now. And that's what we believe the benchmarking tool supports organisations to do. And we've seen this because a number of other public bodies are referencing the benchmarking assessment in their external publications and communications to stakeholders and communities, as well as their reporting to the Scottish Government. So upon reflection about our benchmarking tool, which has only been in use since summer 2019, so it's very early stages and we're very much learning from the process, trialing it and constantly iterating and improving it based on user feedback. And what we've found so far is that the benchmarking process helps organisations to speak to others within their institution to both understand but also plan adaptation action. And this helps us at Adaptation Scotland know where generally the public sector in Scotland are doing well on adaptation capabilities development and where potentially further support or training or knowledge is required. But lastly, I just want to highlight that we appreciate that this kind of high-level benchmarking assessment of adaptation capabilities at an organisational level, whilst it's useful, is only one piece of the puzzle. And we'd be very interested to explore the synergies between assessing capability development with monitoring and evaluation at the project or adaptation intervention level, as well as the higher-level scale of national-level adaptation assessments. So that's why we really look forward to learning more from other project partners on their M&E approaches. But if you have any other questions or comments, please contact us at adaptationscotland@sniffer.org.uk. Thank you very much.